Good morning everyone. This is class 12th, subject chemistry, chapter number 1, solid state, lecture number 1. In this lecture, I shall discuss crystalline and amorphous solids and the classification of crystalline solids. So let's begin with the chapter. We are mostly surrounded by solids and we use them more often than liquids and gases. That is, for different applications we need solids with widely different properties, and these properties depend on the nature of constituent particles and the binding forces operating between them. Therefore, study of the structure of solids is important, and the correlation between structure and properties helps in discovering new solid materials with desired properties. So in this unit, we shall discuss different possible arrangements of particles resulting in several types of structure. Also, the correlation between the nature of interaction within the constituent particles and several properties of solids. Also, how these properties get modified due to the structural imperfections or by the presence of impurities in minute amount. These will be discussed in this chapter. So first of all, we need to know what are fluids. So first is, what are fluids? Fluids are those which has ability to flow, and liquid and gases are called fluids because of their ability to flow, and the fluidity in liquids and gases is due to the fact that the molecules are free to move about in liquids and gases. On the other hand, if we talk about solids, the constituent particles in solids have fixed position and can oscillate about their mean position. And this explains that solids are rigid and the constituent particles are arranged in a regular pattern. Now the next question is, why do some substances exist as solids? So it depends on two factors, that is intermolecular forces and thermal energy. Intermolecular forces, these are the forces existing among the constituent particles which try to keep the constituent particles close together. That is, intermolecular forces binds the constituent particles together. Second factor is thermal energy. Thermal energy, this is the energy possessed by the constituent particles due to temperature. Now, at very low temperature or at room temperature, the thermal energy is low and the intermolecular forces brings them so close that they cling to one another and occupy a fixed position. At very low temperature, the thermal energy is low and therefore intermolecular forces dominates, and these intermolecular forces, they bind the constant particles together and therefore the constant particles occupy a fixed position. These can still oscillate about their mean position and therefore the substance exists in solid state. So if the intermolecular forces dominates over thermal energy, then that substance will exist in solid state. Here are some general characteristic properties of solid state. That is, solids, they have definite mass, volume and shape, and the intermolecular distances are short in solid state. Third is, intermolecular forces are strong in solid state and the constituent particles have fixed position and can oscillate about their mean position. And the fourth property is, solids are incompressible and rigid. That is, we cannot compress solids, and the constant particles in solids, they have fixed position and can oscillate about their mean position. This explains the rigidity in solids, that is, solids are rigid and incompressible. Next is, solids can be classified as crystalline solids or amorphous solid. Now one by one we will discuss crystalline solids and amorphous solids. So solid can be crystalline or amorphous. That depends on the nature of order present in the arrangement of constituent particles First is crystalline solids. Crystalline solids consist of large number of small crystals, each of them having a definite geometrical shape, and the arrangement of constant particles is ordered. That is, in crystalline solids, the atoms, molecules or ions, they are in ordered form. Or we can see that in crystalline solids, it has long range order of atoms, molecules or ions, which means that there is a regular pattern of arrangement of particles which repeats itself periodically over the entire crystal. Example is sodium and quartz are the example of crystalline solids. So here is the figure. This first figure, this is the example of, or this is the structure of crystalline solids. This is the structure of quartz. Now here is the regular pattern, or you can see that regular arrangement of atoms in the complete structure. That is, if we move on right hand side or left hand side, so this structure repeats itself, or you can see that this arrangement of atom repeats in the entire structure. Next is amorphous solid. Amorphous solid consists of particles of irregular shape, and the arrangement of constant particles in such solids has only short range order, or you can see that the particles or the constant particles are not ordered. Examples of amorphous solids are glass, rubber and plastics. These are the examples of amorphous solid. So this figure, this is the example of amorphous solid. Here the particles are not orderly arranged and there is no regular pattern of atoms. So this is amorphous solid. So here are the two figures. First one, here the arrangement of atoms is ordered and a regular pattern is observed in this figure. Whereas if we talk about this figure, there is no regular pattern and the pattern is disordered and scattered. So this is the arrangement in crystalline solids and this is the arrangement of atoms in amorphous solids. Now next is difference between crystalline and amorphous solids. First is crystalline solids, they have sharp melting point, whereas amorphous solids soften over a range of temperature, and therefore amorphous solids, these can be molded and blown into various shapes. That is, on heating they become crystalline at some temperature. That is, when we heat amorphous solids, they convert to crystalline solids. And for crystalline solids, they have a particular melting point value, whereas amorphous solids, they have a range of temperature in between they melt. Now because of this property of amorphous solids, that is, when we heat amorphous solids, they become crystalline at some temperature. So here is the example, that is, some glass objects from ancient civilization are found to become milky in appearance because of some crystallization. As glass is the example of amorphous solid, so with time, with cooling and heating, these glass objects, they acquire some crystalline character in themselves. Therefore, they have milky appearance. So with time, glass objects, they will acquire or milky appearance because of some crystalline character in these objects. Also, amorphous solids have a tendency to flow, though they flow very slowly, but these solids have a tendency to flow, and therefore these are also known as supercooled liquids or pseudo solids. So here is the one important point, that is, glass panes fixed to windows or doors of old buildings are invariably found to be slightly thicker at the bottom than at the top. And this is because as glass, these are amorphous solids, and with time glass flows down very slowly and makes the bottom portion slightly thicker. So that is why glass panes fixed to the windows or doors of old buildings are slightly thicker at the bottom than at the top, because amorphous solids have a property or have a tendency to flow, and that is why these are known as supercooled liquids. Next is crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. So what do you mean by isotropic and anisotropic? Anisotropic in nature means that some of their physical properties like electrical resistance or refractive index shows different values when measured along different direction in the same crystal. And isotropic in nature means the physical properties like refractive index and electrical resistance, they are same in all directions in a crystal. Here is the structure of crystalline solids. Here two types of atoms are present, and here is a regular arrangement of atoms. Now if you measure physical properties like refractive index or electrical resistance, so if we measure along CD direction, and if we talk about the number of atoms, so in CD direction and in AB direction the number of atoms are different, and therefore these properties are different in different direction. Whereas if we talk about the amorphous solids, in amorphous solids there is no regular arrangement of atoms, or the atoms are arranged in disordered manner, and therefore when we move in amorphous solids or in amorphous solids, there is no long range order in them, and the arrangement of particles is irregular in all the direction. Therefore the value of any physical property would be same along any direction. So crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Anisotropy means the physical properties like refractive index, electrical resistance, they are having different values when measured along different directions in the same crystal. Whereas amorphous solids on the other hand are isotropic in nature, that is physical properties like refractive index, electrical conductivity, these are found to be same in any direction. Next is amorphous solids are useful materials, and amorphous silicon is one of the best photovoltaic material available for the conversion of sunlight into electricity. Other examples for amorphous solids are glass, rubber, plastics, and the crystalline solids are metallic elements like iron, copper, silver, non-metallic, sulfur, phosphorus, iodine, and compounds like NaCl, ZnS, naphthalene. So these are the differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. First is shape. Crystalline solids, they have definite characteristic geometrical shape, whereas amorphous solids, they are irregular in shape. If we talk about the melting point, crystalline solids, they have sharp melting point, and in case of amorphous solids, they melt over a range of temperature. Third is crystalline solids, they are anisotropic in nature, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Crystalline solids, these are known as true solids, whereas amorphous solids, they are known as pseudo solids or supercooled liquids. Next is order in arrangement of constant particles. In crystalline solids, the constant particles, they are arranged in ordered form, and it has a regular pattern and a long range order, whereas in amorphous solids the particles are not orderly arranged and the arrangement is very short range. So these are the differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Now next is classification of crystalline solids. Crystalline solids can be classified on the basis of nature of intermolecular forces operating in them. And there are four classification of crystalline solids. First is molecular solids, second is ionic solids, third is metallic solids, and fourth type is covalent solids. First is molecular solids. In these solids, the constituent particles are molecules. And these molecular solids, these are further subdivided into the following categories. First is non-polar molecular solids. So non-polar molecular solids, they comprise of either atoms, for example argon, helium, or the molecules, for example hydrogen, H2, Cl2, Br2, and the atoms or molecules, they are held by weak dispersion forces or London forces. These non-polar molecular solids, these are soft and non-conductors of electricity, and they have low melting point and are usually in liquid or gaseous state at room temperature and pressure. So in molecular solids, first type is non-polar molecular solids. Example is argon, helium, hydrogen molecule, chlorine molecule, bromine molecule. So these type of atoms or molecules, they are held by weak dispersion forces or weak van der Waals forces. And they have low melting point and are usually in liquid or gaseous state at room temperature. Second is polar molecular solids. Examples of polar molecular solids are HCl, SO2, and these are formed by polar covalent bonds. Molecules in such solids are held together by relatively stronger dipole-dipole interaction. So the interaction between polar molecular solids is dipole-dipole interaction. Here the example is HCl is the example of polar molecular solid. So in HCl, the interaction is dipole-dipole interaction. Due to difference in the electronegativity of hydrogen and chlorine, partial positive and negative charge will create on HCl, and therefore this results in the formation of a dipole. And in polar molecular solids, dipole-dipole interactions is there between the molecules. These are soft and non-conductors of electricity, and the melting points are higher than those of non-polar molecular solids. Third is hydrogen bonded molecular solids. The molecules of such solids contain polar covalent bonds between hydrogen and highly electronegative atom, that is fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen. For example, H2O, NH3. So strong hydrogen bonding binds the molecule of such solids, and they are volatile liquids or soft solids under room temperature and pressure. So molecular solids, these are divided into three types: non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids, and third is hydrogen bonded molecular solids. Now next type of crystalline solid is ionic solid. In case of ionic solids, ions are the constituent particles in ionic solids, and these are formed by strong Coulombic forces, that is by 3D arrangement of cations and anions. Ionic solids, they are hard and brittle in nature. Ionic solids, they have high melting and boiling point, and in solid state they are electrical insulators, because in solid states ions are not free. That is why these ionic solids, they will not conduct electricity in solid state. Whereas in molten state the ions become free and therefore they conduct electricity. So ionic solids, they are insulator in solid state and they will conduct electricity in molten state. Next, third type is metallic solids. In case of metals, the constituent particles are positively charged metal ions and free electrons. And these free electrons are mobile and are evenly spread out throughout the crystal. So in case of metallic solids, the constituent particles are positively charged metal ions or free electrons, and these electrons are free to move throughout the crystal. Next is metallic solids. They have high electrical and thermal conductivity. They possess luster and color in some cases. And the metallic solids, they are highly malleable and ductile. That is, we can mold into thin wires and sheets. Fourth type of crystalline solid is covalent or network solids. So fourth is covalent or network solids. These are those crystalline solids in which the constituent particles are known metal atoms and they are linked to the adjacent atoms by covalent bond throughout the crystal. That is, in these type of crystalline solids, a network of covalent bond is formed and they are giant molecules. These covalent solids are hard and brittle and have extremely high melting point. Diamond, silicon carbide are the typical example of covalent solids. Graphite also comes under covalent solid, but graphite is soft and a conductor of electricity. Carbon atoms arranged in different layers in graphite, and each atom is covalently bonded to 3 of its neighboring atoms in the same layer. The fourth valence electron of each atom is present between different layers and is free to move about. Therefore, these free electrons makes graphite a good conductor of electricity. So here is the network structure of diamond and graphite. So here diamond, each carbon atom is covalently bonded to 4 carbon atoms. Whereas in case of graphite, the structure of graphite is in layer form. That is, different layers are formed, and in these layers the carbon, it is bonded to. So in graphite, the carbon atoms are arranged in different layers and each atom is covalently bonded to 3 of its neighboring atoms, and the fourth valence electron of each atom is present between different layers, and therefore that is free to move about, and this makes graphite a good conductor of electricity. And these different layers, they can slide one over the other. This makes graphite a good solid lubricant. So graphite, it can also be used as a lubricant, as well as graphite is a good conductor of electricity. So here is the table of classification of crystalline solids. First is molecular solids, and in molecular solids we have 3 types: non-polar, polar and hydrogen bonded. Second type is ionic solids, third is metallic solids, and fourth is covalent or network solids. In case of molecular solids, the constituent particles are molecules. In case of ionic solids, they are ions. In case of metallic solids, they are positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons. And in case of covalent or network solids, the constituent particles are atoms. The binding forces in molecular solids are dispersion or London forces. In case of non-polar, in case of polar molecular solids, strong dipole-dipole interactions are there, and in case of hydrogen bonded, hydrogen bonding is present. In second type, that is in ionic solids, the binding forces are Coulombic or electrostatic forces. In metallic solids, metallic bonding is there, and in case of covalent or network solids, covalent bonding is there. So here are the examples of these different types of crystalline solids, that is in molecular solids and in non-polar. Example is argon or CCl4. In case of polar, the example is HCl or SO2, and in case of hydrogen bonded, H2O is the example. The examples of ionic solids are NaCl, MgO, ZnS, CaF2. The examples of metallic solids are iron, copper, silver or magnesium. And the example of covalent or network solids are diamond, graphite, SiO2, silicon carbide, etc. So this column represents the physical nature of these types of solids, and in this column electrical conductivity is explained, that whether these types of crystalline solids they are conductors or insulators. And the last column contains the melting point of these different types of crystalline solids. So these are the 4 types of crystalline solids. After doing this, you can solve NCERT in-text question number 1.1 to 1.9 and NCERT exercise question number 1, 2 and 3. Thank you, and please like and subscribe this channel.